News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, with you till the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us. We've got an interesting show, as always, with lots of your questions and comments and news. With us on our Zoom meeting, which goes up to our YouTube channel. You can get to the YouTube channel, by the way, to go to LouisvilleAnswers.com to see every broadcast. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They are the number one ranked home team inspection service in the country, and they have been for 7 years, soon to be 8, we believe. You can reach Brad and his team at 844-411-TEAM. Also with us, Kevin Dissler, who is with Pitt and Frank Attorneys. You know, you can pick the closing attorney that you as the buyer want, and then I would tell you, you could not go wrong with Pitt and Frank Attorneys. You can call Kevin and his folks at 895-9900. Also, son Greg is coming to us from the car because he is already busy on this Sunday morning shooting listings. Good to have all of you folks with us. We will start with a little news and intersperse news throughout the show. It looks like America's home buying binge is winding down. There's a vibe shift visible in both official data coming from sellers, buyers, and brokers. And this, if you may remember, this is what Jerome Powell ordered. The slowdown means the Fed's rate hikes are working, cooling demand in an overheated market. The buyers just stopped buying, some agents say, around the country. The good news is for buyers, not so good for sellers.
Did you just say there was a vibe shift? Did you use the word vibe shift?
Yeah, I did use the word. Hey, I'm not that old.
With the vibe check.
I'm not that old. I'm telling you.
All right, Bob's generation invented that term. What are you
That's right, buddy.
No, you're right. No, it comes full circle. We're going to start wearing bell bottoms again soon.
All right, we move forward. We'll get some more news in throughout the show. Attorney Kevin Dissler. This one comes in an email. Ryan, and I include you in on this because I think you may have some info on this. Ryan sent us an email this week. It says, I listen to your radio show quite frequently, but I've never heard this topic discussed. So that got my attention. He says, I know you sell real estate, residential and commercial real estate, but do you sell businesses as well? He says, I don't actually own the property, just lease the property from a landlord and then operate a franchise business with the property. So I guess the question is, do you sell businesses as well or have an agent on your team that focuses on selling business? So I sent that to Kevin because we have folks who do some of that, but not all of it. One response that from my team says, Kevin Reynolds, who's here in town, can actually help you. If you want more, you can reach out to me on that, Ryan. Kevin, did you have, Dissler, did you have information on that?
Yeah, it's a lot of people do is franchise, for instance, where you'll lease the actual property where the business is located. Yep. But you're trying to sell a franchise or buy a franchise, and there are business brokers here in Louisville. There's not too many of them, but they specialize in that. Sometimes they'll bring aboard someone like Bob that does the real estate part of it, and also the business broker to handle. It's kind of specialized, looking over franchises, franchise agreement, those type of things. And usually you have to bring an attorney, and Pitt and Frank does that as well for a selfish plug there.
No, you work.
Yeah. So, but there are a few in town, and I mentioned I passed on one that used to be with Remax, and I think she's moved on to another place, but there are about 3 or 4 of them around town.
Yep. If you want, we'll get you more information, Ryan, if you want to reach out to me or Kevin, and we'll give out the numbers in a bit. Brad, if you were going to sell your business, first of all, I will tell you, I would not allow it. You're just too good.
I appreciate that.
That would just not happen. But you have to go through a whole series of steps and formulations and to determine what your P&L is, what the profit center is for. It's a big formula. It's not the easiest thing to do. All right, moving on. This question actually comes to Brad, which Denny sent us the email. He says he has an older home with, yes, you guessed it, folks, a Federal Pacific panel. When he bought the house, the panel cover, so we're talking about that plate that goes over the breakers, was missing, but there was a wood paneling cover that was fashioned over it. So he had like a wood door that closed over it.
Yeah.
He says now he's about to sell. He's wondering if he will be required to get a cover for the Federal Pacific panel. Is it even worth looking for a cover? What do you think?
Well, I think he's going to run into a challenge, whether it's the cosmetic fix. There's a lot of folks that have those wooden doors, particularly in paneled basements, that they just put them together years and years ago. But the problem is the Federal Pacific panels are all, the youngest ones are going on almost 50 years old. So regardless of what's on the outside of it, it's going to, whoever inspects the house is going to recommend that an electrician actually evaluate the entire system to see whether or not it's time to do a an upgrade to that panel, which is going to take care of the door itself as part of that evaluation.
It may be worth it to just chunk the panel, the Federal Pacific. Look online for problems with Federal Pacific panels, because we've talked about that. It's really not a good scenario.
Well, just to interject one thing, I just had a recent deal, and we assumed that the panel had to be replaced. And apparently there's a little bit of a backlog as far as like everything else, trying to get a new panel in. So we specifically put it in the contract extra time for it. Brad's shaking his head, but they're talking 60 to 90 days before they get one.
Yeah, we've heard the same thing. I mean, builders are talking about that. I mean, the 200 amp panel. I mean, some of these common sizes are they're just long backlogs to get them. So I don't know that every electrical company in town is going to have a supply of a 150 or 200 amp panel that they can drop in.
Good point.
Good point.
Very good points, guys. All right, we're going to move forward. Just a quick reminder, if you'd like me to come out to talk to you about your home, getting it on the market, what the plan is there, it's no obligation. It's free of charge. Simply go and call me at 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellmyhome.com or sellmyhomebob.com. Again, we'll make an appointment, come out, no obligation, it's free of charge, and we can get you with a plan to get going, and then we can help you list and sell it. All right, back to our questions for this time. Mr. Disler, Ashley's emailed us with a problem. Her parents are getting on in years, and they own their home outright. They've been looking at reverse mortgages, but Ashley says she's worried about that because she doesn't know if it's a scam, and she also wants to know if there's anything we know about it. By the way, Greg, who of course is my son, if I ever talk about getting a reverse mortgage, just shoot me right then.
Oh, no. Trust me. The girls now have a contingency plan. My sister.
Oh, very good. Oh, good.
Yeah. Just watch what you eat.
It'll be way more humane, Bob. It'll be way more.
Thank you so much. By the way, watch what you eat. I had a really bad stomach ache yesterday, and I was worried that it was like I had an internal ulcer or something. And then I found out that there's apparently a bug going around, some sort of virus bug for the stomach, 24 hours. So if you're feeling sick, check with the doctor, of course, but know that that's going around. So what would you say about reverse mortgages, Kevin? Back to the actual question.
Well, the federal government does regulate that area, and there are a few people in town, just a couple that specialize in reverse mortgages. They tend to be fairly expensive, fairly document intensive, and so I think they work in certain situations. But for most people, I think there are probably better alternatives. Talk to your realtor, talk to a mortgage broker, talk to your financial advisor. There very well may be better ways to do it, especially since the interest rates have popped up quite a bit. The amount of payments that you will receive back is probably going to be be somewhat more diminished. But I just think if you got an investment advisor that you trust, seek out their advice. Some people do it in town. It's the correct product, but for only a few people.
And I would say the problem is a lot of real estate agents, a lot of people don't know much about the real ins and outs of reverse mortgages. You could do a search on Google for problems with reverse mortgages.
Would you say reverse mortgages are for people who have no heirs or people?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right. Yes.
Pass on any debts or collateral to.
You're hearing Greg chime in about, if I did a reverse mortgage, then he and his sisters would not be getting anything from
No, I'm just saying, Kevin said they are good for some people. And my point is, are those people the people that don't have anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. This case, Ashley is writing us the email, but just so you know, when you do a search on Google, be careful, because if it's an ad, it could have a vested interest behind it.
Oh, yeah, good point. Always try to skip to the middle bottom of the page, even skipping to page 2. Good point, Bob.
Yeah.
They still put ads at the top of page 2. You can denote it by seeing the little thing that'll say ad. So avoid those. Good point.
There's some interesting information from Forbes magazine, for example, reverse mortgage reviews. Is it a ripoff or a good idea? So I would go out there and just do some real good research. Again, I'm not so sure how many realtors or even mortgage people have the information about reverse mortgages, but certainly it's something and hopefully, Ashley, you get some information. By the way, Ashley, let us know how that turns out, because certainly we'd want to help you down the road here. If you don't get the information, we'll go a little deeper. This is going back over to Brad. Antonia recently updated her kitchen cabinets, and in this kitchen, he's now planning on selling in a couple of months his whole house. Apparently, a real estate agent asked him if he updated the GFCI near a sink when he updated the kitchen cabinets, and Antonia is wondering, is that necessary? He also, by the way, put a refrigerator on a GFCI outlet, and he's wondering if that's advisable. So because we have a lot of listeners who are staying and doing updates, but what requires you to update based on I know you don't quote ordinances,
right,
but to update your GFCI in the kitchen?
Yeah, I think the easiest way that we've found to explain that is if they have to pull a permit for electrical, then they have to upgrade the GFCI. A lot of these upgrades in kitchens with new countertops, new cabinets, you're not pulling any permits, you're not doing any plumbing, you're not doing any electrical work. So I don't think that would ever come into play. Now, of course, installing GFCI is very straightforward. It's something that a lot of homeowners with a little bit of protection experience could be able to do
themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong, with the GFCI specifically on the refrigerator, you'd probably want the GFCI breaker to be at the box and not at the outlet plate, because if it trips, then you got to pull the refrigerator out, right, to get back to reset the trip, versus going to the electrical box, which is still okay for code, right? Like you could, for instance, if you wanted to switch out your breaker, which would definitely require a little bit more know-how from electrical awareness, but
the only thing about that, Greg, is that most of the GFCIs, like you're talking about, are in new construction where they have the new panels, but the common panels that we see, you're going to have the GFCI actually in the wall. So yeah, you're right. I mean, they're tricky to get to in some places. I think they should be on a GFCI. Keep in mind too that a lot of times in kitchens, the way the electrician set a kitchen up is you may have GFCI protection off one outlet, but it connects down to two more outlets. Right, exactly.
That's
so even though so even though it doesn't look like a GFCI, it is still GFCI protected. It should have a little label on it specifying this GFCI protected.
Moving on, if you'd like to sign up for our bi-monthly newsletter, simply go to welovelouisville.com and just fill it out. We'll get a copy of the newsletter. We update it on every 2 weeks, just so you know, and it gets sent out to you once you go forward. Also, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to give you some tips on how to prevent home invasion or better protect your home. I think some of these are really good. Some of them, we've heard before, but we'll try to get to the very best of them. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the home tips, more of your questions. We're doing our COVID show, which means continuing, where we do this via Zoom. By the way, we're talking with getting back into the studio and doing our shows, guys, just down the road here. We'll find out if that does happen. But in the meantime, we do this show, and then we upload a copy of it to YouTube, and you can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com to see a rebroadcast and the video portion of this show. You'll see each of us in our own offices, homes, and cars. With us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. You can reach Brad and his team at 844-411-TEAM. Also, Kevin Dissler with Pitt and Frank Attorneys, 895-9900. You can reach me to set up an appointment to come out, help you come up with a plan to list and sell your home free of charge, no obligation. Then we come out and get it listed. You can reach me on my cell phone, 376-5483. And my son, Greg, who does our marketing, photography, so much more, is out this morning also in his car and talking to us as well. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you till the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Barbara Corcoran, who does such a great job for us, and also on Shark Tank. She's a great lady. We also remind you, if you'd like us to come out and help you, we have 5 ways to help you sell your home now, just about guaranteed to help you find your home before you have to move out of your home. For more info, go to bobsellmyhome.com or sellmyhomebob.com, or you can reach me at 376-5483. That's 502 area code. Also with us, Kevin Dissler, Pitt and Frank Attorneys at 895-9900. And Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, 844-411-TEAM. And then also my son, Greg, who does our photography, marketing, and so much more. Well, one of the big concerns, and this happened to me, was getting broken into. This happened about 3 or so years ago in my home. And since then, I've been scared. I have extra video cameras on my house all around, outside, inside, alarm system, and 2 big German Shepherds and 2 little Beaver dogs that are also barkers. So there's alarms everywhere. But 81% of home invasions actually occur through first floor doors and windows. So be aware of that. 61% of offenders were unarmed. They were unarmed when they entered a home. And by the way, just so you know, victims of burglaries lost an estimated 3.0 billion, that's billion, in property losses just in a year. So some of the things you can do, change the lock. If you're moving and you move into a new home, don't trust that you got all the keys, because maybe a neighbor's got it, maybe it's gotten out. So after you move in, change the lock, invest in maybe a smart lock where you can change the actual passcode or the tumblers to the locks itself. Brad, you may jump in here, Kevin as well, if you have any other tips as we go forward here. Invest in motion sensor lights and avoid hiding a spare key outside if you can at all do that. You can get those punch codes, which I've got, which are really good because you can change those codes fairly simply if you need to. But the lights come on, that works. Never post on social media that you're going on a trip. That is really a bad scenario. Secure valuables in a safe. You can buy these safes. I bought one from Amazon, and you can put it in the wall, hide it with something, and thief's never going to know that your valuables are in there. Also, add a privacy film to your windows and close your blinds so that burglars or people walking along the street can't see in. Make your home look lived in. This is really important. Simple steps, really, such as stopping the mail or asking a neighbor to pick it up for you, hiring someone to keep the lawn mowed, and inviting a neighbor to park their car in your driveway as long as it doesn't trip oil. Those are some really good tips, especially as many of us are going to be going on vacations over the summer. Always keep your garage door.
And I've got a paranoia one. Yeah. No, garage door. Go ahead, and I'll follow right off that.
Okay. Upgrade your door to make it less supervious to getting broken into, and make your home more visible. By that, basically, make sure that you trim back unruly hedges and make sure your home is visible. Right. Install a security system as the last tip. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, the garage door thing I was thinking about earlier. My level of paranoia, most of the newer ones do have a lock feature where it will not allow any wireless transmission
to open.
So like when we go to bed at night or when we leave for vacation or whatever, I will lock it, and you can only get in through the actual pad. So I have to go into the house with the key when we get back home, whatever. But every night before I go to bed, part of my routine is I go and I lock the wireless transmitters on my garage doors, because listen, we're a new construction. There's a lot of people around. I've lost a remote before. You go to the body shop, you drop it on whatever. There's a lot of times where that's out of your hands. So that's one way you can completely just don't forget. The big thing is don't forget to unlock it when you leave in the morning, or you have to get out of your car to manually close the garage. So.
Do you have an alarm system on your home?
Yeah.
Okay, because you could always have them put a sensor on the garage door, so it automatically lets you know the door's up.
I've done that. I don't want to set off the alarm. When you've done that, I did that at my old house, and you cause sometimes false alarms when you set it off. And we got charged a couple times because the wife forgot to signal it, and it happened. So there's other ways to confirm that the garage door doesn't open if you want to.
Got it. By the way, if you're thinking about selling your house and you'd like a very helpful booklet, free, no obligation, send me an email. Send the email to bob@wesellouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line. We'll send it out to you via email right away. Also, 58% of U.S. adults say they're willing to take steps to find housing that is more affordable. Young adults, Greg, take note, Gen Z, millennials, are more likely to do so than older generations. That's a new survey from a company called Bankrate.com. The actions include moving to a less expensive area or even purchasing a fixer-upper because they're not able to find homes that suit their needs completely. We always say, if you can find a home that does 75% of what you're looking for, that may be the home to go for. CJ sent us an email. Kevin, he is behind on his mortgage, and his lender has already sent him notifications moving forward with foreclosure procedures. He's hired a bankruptcy attorney and is in the process of filing bankruptcy. But with everything that's going on out there with COVID and the like, can a mortgage company foreclose and force CJ and his family out of the house at this point?
Well, I think now the moratorium, and I'm trying to think how, I think the court actually came up and kind of allowed foreclosures to continue once again. But there are so many programs available out there. If you can show some type that your income was impaired or perhaps your spouse lost a job, I still believe that there's a lot of programs out there to help and assist. The other thing, if he is engaged a bankruptcy attorney, once they actually file, then that would pretty much put at abeyance the foreclosure proceeding and let his bankruptcy attorney have an opportunity to kind of work out everything for him. But I just read something the other day. I still think there are just quite a few programs available out there. And again, you have to prove your income was somehow impaired related to COVID.
Right. There's always that. This part of this is you either lost a job, health benefit problem, things like that, or related to COVID in this case. So moving on back over to Brad. Diana sent us an email that she recently had a new water heater installed in her basement. They were two prices that she did. Now, everyone take note of this. One to have it installed and certified with a certificate, and the other to just have it installed. The cost to have it installed, just installed with no certificate, was a lot less. And she went ahead to a friend's home recently and noticed a water heater sticker lying on the floor. I don't like this, where this is going. She said she picked it up, put it on her water heater in her house. She says she's now regretting doing that and wonders what type of problem she can get into when she sells her home. Kevin, you may want to jump in on this as well. So what would you say to Diana at this point?
Yeah, well, let me go first. I mean, I would always recommend that if you're putting any sort of plumbing apparatus like that in your house, you're following all of the code requirements and not shortcutting. I can't imagine a licensed plumber offering a shortcut option there. Yeah. And then as far as her picking up a sticker and putting it on there, we know that it has nothing to do with it. It's that particular tank. But going forward too, I don't know that anyone's going to be checking. It's not going to be part of a home inspection. It's not going to be part of a real estate transaction. But I'll let Kevin jump in from there.
Anything from a legal aspect on that, Kev?
Well, I think that you've got something, especially if you're in the process of selling, when you take the sticker and put it on the hot water heater or the electrical panel, you're creating the impression that it's been inspected by the folks at the city and it's been approved. And it has not been. I mean, I just think with home, and this is Brad's, but home inspector says, the sticker's not on it, which requires a trip down to have someone from the city come out. You have to sit around and wait. They come and take a look at it, and then they put the sticker on. That shows that someone came out there and approved either the installation or the repair. And I think that you're creating the reasonable impression upon buyers that has been done, and that would be called, let's not use fraud. Let's use misrepresentation. That's a kinder term.
There you go. That's a nice term. All right. So one of the things that we as a team, we do a lot of listings and a lot of sales. We've been trying to stay away from open houses. Greg will tell you, we just find that there's so many people who are on the internet looking at our pictures and the videos. Open houses are somewhat passé. And now a new report is out that is a major warning for any real estate agent who is listening to us and also sellers. The warning is that at open houses, thieves disguised as home buyers may swipe jewelry, prescription drugs, and other valuables from homes. Real estate pros warn in a recent article of the New York Times. Some experts are predicting open house thefts could get worse this spring and summer. And again, this is nothing new, but the fact that this is now being pushed out again because of the state of the industry, prices going up, people are needing money for gas, we may see a concerted effort with this. So be careful, folks. Be very, very careful as we go forward. Samantha is writing in this email. She says she's selling her house. She got a call from her agent saying that the buyer's agent was not going to be available to show the house. Would she, the homeowner, Samantha, allow the person to come into the unoccupied house while no one was there? My personal feeling on this, and Kevin, we're going to go to you in a sec here, is never let an unrepresented, unauthorized buyer in your house. We just read the story about open houses when there's even somebody there as an agent being there, but they can't be everywhere in the house. So just imagine, not that a buyer is going to do something, but you got to protect your house and your valuables. Kev, your thoughts?
Well, like you said, personal safety. There were a whole rash of cases, too, where somebody says, I want to see a house, and they meet the realtor there. And especially a lot of the ladies were in a very awkward position. So same thing here. You're inviting someone in the house that you do not know, you don't have a relationship with. That's dangerous. The other thing from a legal context is you're there as the owner. You like your house. You want to make statements along the line of the last guest or the person that wrote in. You may misrepresent. You may overstate. You may elaborate. And you have to be careful with what you say. Discrimination claims can come in. I was hoping to sell this to a nice young fill in the blank, religious, ethnicity, whatever.
Right.
And sometimes you can get yourself in trouble. Like I said, realtors, if you're there, you know what to say and what you can't say. And if you're there with a prospective buyer, you can get yourself in hot water.
I think we can all agree, do not let a buyer into your house without representation from a buyer's agent to keep an eye. Final question going to Brad Carlos. Sent us an email. He says he saw a Groupon ad in his email for air duct cleaning, and he remembered some months ago that we were talking about good and bad air duct companies. I remember, Brad, you talking specifically about that. And he's wondering, what should we, the general we, you, me, and all our listeners, look for if we're going to have our air ducts cleaned in time for spring cleaning?
Yeah, so the couple things that I would want to know is, one, I'd want to know what the process they're using, because there's some of these companies out there that are just coming in with giant blowers, and I don't think they're very efficient, and they seem to. I've looked at a couple of houses where that type system has been used, and they kind of leave a mess behind. So I'd want to make sure that they've got a vacuum system. A lot of them will have an agitator that goes through the ductwork too, kind of knocking things loose as it goes to be vacuumed out. So I'd want to know what the process is, and I would absolutely definitely check their Google reviews and check even better Business Bureau and see what type of complaints that they've had, or just find out what you can about the company. I'm always cautious about anything I get a Groupon for.
Yeah.
I know there's plenty of awesome businesses that use Groupon, but it just to me it just smacks of a little bit of overselling, more of a marketing machine than an actual service machine there.
Your bottom line, do your research. You're absolutely right. All right, we're out of time. My thanks to Kevin Dissler, Pitt & Frank Attorneys at 895-9900. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, 844-411-TEAM. My son Greg does our marketing, photography, and so much more. And you can reach me anytime to come out, do a little consult, talk about what the plan could be, should be, maybe thoughts about the future. No obligation, no costs, and we can decide if you want to go forward and list the house. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 502-376-5483. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.